For decades, the idea of the ultimate dinosaur predator has been shaped by a single image. A massive animal standing on solid ground, jaws open, muscles tense, prepared for confrontation. Dominance in this view is loud and visible. The conversation almost always started and ended with Tyrannosaurus rex. It had become the standard. But that focus has also narrowed how we think about power in the dinosaur world. Strength is not only about bite force or speed in a straight line. It is also about where an animal can operate, how it controls space, and how difficult it is for prey to escape once it has been detected. In the mid-Cretaceous period, in what is now North Africa, there lived a predator that challenged those assumptions completely. Its body did not follow the usual blueprint of large land-hunting theropods. Its skull was long and narrow. Its proportions were unusual. Its center of mass was shifted forward. For decades, even scientists struggled to understand what kind of animal it really was. But as evidence slowly accumulated, a clearer picture began to form. That animal was Spinosaurus. Spinosaurus was not just another large carnivorous dinosaur. It represented a different solution to the problem of survival at giant size. While predators like Tyrannosaurus rex ruled open land through brute force and powerful jaws, Spinosaurus occupied a far more complex role. It lived at the boundary between environments. It moved between water and land in a way no other known giant theropod did. That alone made it dangerous in a way most predators were not. Where T-Rex ruled territory, Spinosaurus ruled environments. Size played a major role in this dominance. Spinosaurus is now considered one of the largest carnivorous dinosaurs ever discovered, and in many reconstructions, it exceeded even Tyrannosaurus rex in overall length. The space it occupied became a zone of control. But Spinosaurus was not built like a typical land predator scaled up. Its body proportions tell a different story. Its body hinted at a life shaped by more than sheer strength, built for a rhythm between different worlds. Even its tail hinted at unusual flexibility and control, a subtle indication that it could move with ease in environments that others could not. What makes Spinosaurus especially unsettling is that its power did not rely on speed in the traditional sense. It was not a sprinter like smaller theropods. It could wait. It could strike from angles prey did not expect. In water, it had advantages over land animals that ventured too close. On land, its sheer size and weaponry still made it a serious threat. In this documentary, we're going to follow the real story of Spinosaurus. We'll uncover just how massive it could get, how its unusual body was built, and the way it hunted and moved through its watery world. We'll explore the dangers it faced, the rivals it encountered, and why it became one of the most unusual giant predators ever discovered. We'll trace the rise and fall of this incredible creature, showing how it eventually disappeared and left behind one of the most complex and debated fossil records in all of dinosaur science. And along the way, we'll tackle a question that has fascinated fans and scientists alike for decades. If Spinosaurus ever faced off against Tyrannosaurus rex, which one would likely dominate in a fight? Spinosaurus was not just large. It was built in a way that changed how size itself functioned. Most giant theropod predators followed a similar design. A heavy skull, strong hind legs, a tail used mainly for balance, and proportions optimized for land-based pursuit and attack. Spinosaurus broke that pattern. Its size was not simply scaled up from smaller predators. It was distributed differently across the body, and that difference shaped how it lived and hunted. Current estimates place Spinosaurus at around 14 to 15 meters in length, with some individuals possibly reaching the upper end of that range. Tyrannosaurus rex, by comparison, is usually estimated at 12 to 13 meters long. That extra length gave Spinosaurus greater extension, both with its head and its body. In close encounters, this matters. It affects who can strike first and who sets the pace of the encounter. Spinosaurus did not need to charge forward. Its mere presence allowed it to shape the interaction. In terms of height, Spinosaurus was not taller at the hips than T-Rex. Spinosaurus stood roughly 4 to 5 meters tall, slightly lower than T-Rex. But its massive sail pushed its overall height far beyond. In fact, it was likely slightly lower due to its shorter hind limbs. However, when considering overall vertical presence, including its tall neural spines forming the famous sail, Spinosaurus presented a much larger visual profile. The sail itself may have reached over 1.5 meters above the back, making the animal appear significantly taller than its body alone would suggest. Whether the sail was used for display, thermoregulation, or species recognition, it added to the animal's presence and visibility within its environment. Weight estimates for Spinosaurus are more uncertain, but most studies place it in the range of 6 to 9 metric tons, with some estimates pushing slightly higher. Tyrannosaurus rex is usually estimated between 8 and 9.5 metric tons for the largest individuals. This means that while T-Rex may have been heavier on average, Spinosaurus carried its mass differently. Its body was longer, its chest was deep, and its weight was spread over a more elongated frame. This affected balance, movement, and how force was applied during interactions. One of the most important differences lies in the skull. The skull of Spinosaurus was long and narrow, resembling that of modern crocodilians rather than the deep, bone-crushing skull of T-Rex. The teeth themselves reinforce this idea. Its skull was lined with 60 smooth, conical teeth that were robust, ideal for gripping slippery prey. Unlike the blade-like serrated teeth of many theropods, these teeth resisted bending and breakage under twisting loads. That suggests repeated struggles, likely involving prey that fought back in unpredictable ways. A gripping bite allows control. Once held, prey has fewer options, especially in water, where movement is already restricted. The forelimbs of Spinosaurus were another major advantage. Unlike the reduced arms of Tyrannosaurus rex, the arms of Spinosaurus were long, powerful, and fully functional. The shoulder girdle supported strong muscles, and the hands ended in large, curved claws. These claws were not small grasping tools. They were heavy, sharp, and capable of inflicting serious damage or restraint. In close-range encounters, the forelimbs could be used to hook prey, pin it down, or pull it toward the jaws. Spinosaurus claws varied in size, with authentic fossil hand claws often found around 4 to 9 inches long, over the curve. But estimates suggest adult thumb claws, including their keratin sheaths, could reach up to 2 feet, making them massive. Unlike a bite, a claw strike did not require full commitment. A single swing could injure, destabilize, or force a rival to retreat, making these claws especially effective in close-range confrontations. This matters because it gives Spinosaurus multiple points of contact. It did not rely solely on its mouth to control prey. The jaws, arms, and body could all work together. This reduces dependence on a single killing blow and allows flexibility. If prey struggled, Spinosaurus could adjust, regrip, and maintain control. That kind of adaptability is often more effective than raw force. Speed is often misunderstood when discussing large predators. Neither Spinosaurus nor T-Rex was built for sustained high-speed running. However, T-Rex likely had better land-based acceleration and stability due to its long, powerful hind legs and rigid tail. Spinosaurus, with its shorter hind limbs and shifted center of mass, was probably slower on land. Estimates suggest land speeds in the range of 20 to 25 kilometers per hour, compared to slightly higher estimates for T-Rex. But speed alone does not define effectiveness. Spinosaurus did not need to chase prey across open plains. Its power came from ambush, reach, and positioning. Talking about its bite force, Spinosaurus had a relatively weaker but specialized bite compared to T-Rex, estimated around 4,000 to 5,000 pounds per square inch. Adapted for snatching slippery fish with its crocodile-like jaws and conical teeth, rather than bone-crushing. Studies suggest its bite was strong enough for fish and small prey, potentially reaching up to 11,936 newtons, nearly 1.2 tons, at the back of its jaws. But it relied more on its large claws and speed for hunting. Unlike T-Rex's bone-crushing power, Spinosaurus used its jaws for quick snaps and its powerful forelimbs and claws to subdue prey. The tail of Spinosaurus is where the design becomes even more unusual. Fossil evidence shows a tall, laterally compressed tail with elongated spines. This was not a passive balancing organ, it was an active tool. In aquatic environments, this tail would have allowed Spinosaurus to maneuver, accelerate, and maintain stability in ways no other giant theropod could. This added a whole new dimension to its power. Based on growth patterns observed in large theropods, Spinosaurus likely had a long lifespan, possibly reaching 25 to 30 years. Reaching full size would have taken decades, meaning adult Spinosaurus were not just large, but experienced hunters. By the time an individual reached its maximum size, it would have survived countless encounters, learned the behavior of prey, and refined its strategies over many years. This experience made older individuals especially dangerous, not because of speed, but because of patience and precision. When placed alongside Tyrannosaurus rex, the contrast becomes clear. T-Rex was a specialist in confrontation. Its strength was concentrated in its jaws and neck, designed to end encounters quickly. Spinosaurus followed a different path. Its power was spread across its entire body and across multiple environments. It did not need to overpower prey in a single moment. It needed to prevent escape. This is what made Spinosaurus so intimidating. Not the idea of a single crushing bite, but the reality of an animal that could limit movement, dominate boundaries, and operate in places where others were vulnerable. Its size was not just impressive, it was functional, and every part of its body worked toward that goal. What set Spinosaurus apart from Tyrannosaurus rex was not just its size, or its long sail, or even its unusual anatomy. It was its ability to dominate both water and land, a capability no other giant theropod, including T-Rex, could claim. T-Rex, for all its power, was built entirely for terrestrial hunting. Its strength lay in brute force, speed over short distances, and crushing bite power. Spinosaurus, by contrast, extended the boundaries of predation. It removed the natural refuge that water had offered prey for millions of years, making survival far more precarious for any animal that came near rivers, lakes, or floodplains. Fossil evidence and biomechanical studies show that Spinosaurus was highly adapted to an amphibious lifestyle. Its limb proportions, dense bone structure, skull design, and tail morphology all point to a predator equally at home in water and on land. For example, the bones of Spinosaurus were denser than those of T-Rex, similar to modern semi-aquatic mammals like hippos. Dense bones help counteract buoyancy, allowing an animal to submerge effectively. This meant Spinosaurus could walk along riverbeds, swim through channels, and maneuver underwater in pursuit of fish and other aquatic prey, an environment T-Rex could not penetrate. The skull of Spinosaurus also illustrates its specialization. Its long, narrow snout, lined with sharp teeth, was adapted for gripping slippery aquatic prey. Tyrannosaurus rex, in contrast, had a deep, wide skull with large, serrated teeth built to crush and tear large terrestrial herbivores. In direct comparison, T-Rex's bite was stronger in sheer force, but Spinosaurus had a precision advantage. In water, speed and brute strength are less effective. Gripping, holding, and manipulating prey is what counts. And that was Spinosaurus's domain. Fish fossils found in North African formations include species several meters long. Catching and controlling them required specialized anatomy, something T-Rex could never achieve. The nostril placement of Spinosaurus also shows adaptation to semi-aquatic hunting. Its nostrils were set further back on the skull, near the eyes, unlike T-Rex, whose nostrils were at the front of the snout. Spinosaurus could keep most of its head submerged while still breathing, turning rivers and shallow channels into hunting grounds. From this hidden position, it could strike suddenly, lashing out at prey with speed and precision. Unlike T-Rex, which needed open ground to chase and lunge, Spinosaurus could attack almost invisibly, leaving prey little time to react. For animals near the water, danger came without warning, and safety felt fleeting both on land and in the shallows. Spinosaurus had claws that could grab, pin, or tear prey, especially in shallow water or at the shoreline. This gave Spinosaurus an additional offensive tool T-Rex lacked entirely, particularly in environments where prey might try to evade capture by moving into water. Unlike the stiff, rigid tail of T-Rex used for balance on land, this tail would have functioned as a paddle, propelling the dinosaur efficiently through water, enabling rapid direction changes and bursts of speed to capture aquatic prey. In rivers or shallow lakes, a Spinosaurus could move with stealth, precision, and power. A combination impossible for any land-only predator, including the much-feared T-Rex. In water, however, Spinosaurus likely moved with far greater efficiency than any large terrestrial predator, in ways Tyrannosaurus rex could not match. While Spinosaurus likely moved more slowly on land than T-Rex due to shorter hind limbs and a forward-shifted center of mass, it did not rely on land-based speed to survive. Ambush tactics, reach, and environmental control compensated for lower land speed. In contrast, T-Rex's dominance depended on outpacing or overpowering terrestrial prey. In practical terms, this means that Spinosaurus could exploit food sources inaccessible to T-Rex, hunt in environments where T-Rex could not follow, and strike at prey that assumed land offered safety. It expanded the zone of danger far beyond the territory any T-Rex could control. Spinosaurus's hunting strategy also relied on energy efficiency, which is critical at a giant size. A predator weighing several tons cannot waste energy chasing prey over long distances. By ambushing in water or along riverbanks, Spinosaurus could conserve energy while maintaining a high success rate. T-Rex, by comparison, relied on short bursts of speed and overwhelming power, which limited the environments where it could hunt effectively. In this sense, Spinosaurus's semi-aquatic adaptations not only provided more opportunities, but also a safer, more reliable hunting method. The combination of aquatic hunting, overthrowing capability, and specialized anatomy made Spinosaurus uniquely threatening. Its prey could not escape into water, as they might from terrestrial predators, nor could they easily outrun it on land. Every major component of Spinosaurus's teeth, claws, limbs, tail, and sensory adaptations was optimized to make both water and land dangerous zones. T-Rex, for all its power, could never pose the same cross-environment threat. Finally, the semi-aquatic lifestyle also influenced competition. In North Africa, large terrestrial predators such as Carcharodontosaurids and Abelisaurids occupied land niches. T-Rex's size and power would have placed it at the top of a similar terrestrial food chain. Spinosaurus, by hunting in rivers, wetlands, and floodplains, avoided direct competition while exploiting rich aquatic resources. This not only supported its large size, but also gave it ecological dominance that T-Rex could never achieve, simply because T-Rex was restricted to land. Its presence created constant tension, forcing animals to move carefully and react more slowly than they normally would. Feeding took longer. Rest never felt secure. Over time, that pressure led to hesitation and mistakes. When Spinosaurus finally appeared, it often faced prey already worn down by fear, not fully alert or ready to escape. Its influence reached far beyond the attack itself. Mid-Cretaceous North Africa, approximately 100 million years ago, was a vastly different world from the ecosystems of late Cretaceous North America, where T-Rex would later emerge as a dominant species. The landscape, climate, and available prey created the conditions that allowed a semi-aquatic predator like Spinosaurus to thrive and reach its extraordinary size. The region was dominated by extensive river systems, floodplains, and deltas, interspersed with lakes and shallow lagoons. Unlike the more open plains inhabited by T-Rex, this environment provided abundant water-based resources. Fish, amphibians, and aquatic reptiles flourished, providing a consistent and rich food source for Spinosaurus. This is crucial because giant predators require enormous amounts of energy to survive. In open terrestrial environments, large predators like T-Rex depended on land-based megaherbivores, such as hadrosaurs and ceratopsians, which were not always evenly distributed. In contrast, the aquatic prey of Spinosaurus were widespread and concentrated in rivers. Some of these species reached several meters in length. Catching and consuming such prey required both size and precision. T-Rex, on land, faced similar challenges with large herbivores, but could rely on sheer bite force to subdue them. Spinosaurus, however, was able to exploit prey that T-Rex could never access. The landscape itself worked in Spinosaurus's favor. Vast river systems and spreading deltas linked floodplains, channels, and coastal lowlands into a single connected world. These waterways let Spinosaurus move freely between hunting areas, following the flow of water rather than being boxed in by terrain. Wet ground, riverbanks, and shallow channels that slowed land predators became natural routes instead. This gave Spinosaurus access to more prey and a wider range with less effort. Where Tyrannosaurus rex was limited to firm ground, Spinosaurus operated along the living network of rivers, turning geography into an advantage rather than an obstacle. Climate played another important role. The mid-Cretaceous period was warmer and wetter, with seasonal rainfall creating dynamic river systems and periodic flooding. These conditions supported lush vegetation and diverse herbivore populations along riverbanks, which in turn supported carnivores. The abundance of both aquatic and terrestrial prey allowed Spinosaurus to grow larger than most purely terrestrial predators. Its niche did not directly compete with other large carnivores such as Carcharodontosaurus, which were also present in the region. By exploiting water-based hunting grounds, Spinosaurus reduced direct conflict and had access to untapped resources. Spinosaurus's morphology reflects this environment. The elongated snout was ideal for fish, while the strong forelimbs with claws could manipulate prey in shallow water. Its long body and powerful tail provided stability and propulsion. In many ways, the environment dictated the evolution of these features. In open land habitats like those of T-Rex, such adaptations would have been unnecessary or even disadvantageous. T-Rex thrived because its body was optimized for overpowering terrestrial prey and maintaining balance during fast lunges, not for swimming or wading through river systems. In contrast, T-Rex's world demanded that it compete directly with other apex predators for land-based megafauna. While both were top predators in their respective environments, Spinosaurus's semi-aquatic strategy allowed it to reduce direct competition and exploit a more diverse food supply. Prey behavior quietly worked in Spinosaurus's favor. Animals living near rivers were pushed into constant trade-offs: drink and feed close to the water, or move away and lose vital resources. Every option carried risk. That pressure shaped habits and routines, making movements more regular and easier to anticipate. And in a world where hesitation could be fatal, being predictable was often the most dangerous state of all. In addition to food availability and habitat, environmental stability played a role. River systems provided relatively consistent resources over time, supporting populations of Spinosaurus that could grow large without frequent catastrophic food shortages. In North America, prey populations for T-Rex could fluctuate, sometimes forcing periods of longer hunts or scavenging. Finally, Spinosaurus's environment influenced its social and behavioral ecology. The combination of water and land habitats may have allowed juveniles to occupy slightly different ecological niches than adults, reducing intraspecific competition. Juveniles could remain closer to shorelines and shallower areas, while adults dominated deeper channels. T-Rex, by contrast, relied entirely on terrestrial hunting grounds, and juveniles were limited to smaller prey or different regions to avoid direct competition with adults. The world of mid-Cretaceous North Africa provided the perfect conditions for a predator like Spinosaurus to exist. Abundant aquatic and terrestrial prey, extensive river systems, and a warm, wet climate created opportunities that T-Rex's open plains never offered. When people compare Tyrannosaurus rex and Spinosaurus, It assumes a brutal last-man-standing fight, where both animals stay locked in combat until one is killed. That idea comes from fiction, not from how real predators operate. Among large carnivores, fighting is risky, expensive, and often avoided whenever possible. Confrontations are usually about controlling space, securing resources, and establishing dominance rather than delivering a fatal blow. When the question is approached from that more realistic perspective, the dynamic between these two animals shifts in a significant way. A territorial encounter between two apex predators is not decided by who has the deadliest weapon on paper. It comes down to positioning, reach, and the ability to apply pressure without taking serious risks. The goal is simple: make the other animal back off. In that context, Spinosaurus creates problems that Tyrannosaurus rex was never specifically adapted to deal with. Its body plan changes how close an opponent can safely approach, and that alone alters the balance of any confrontation. Spinosaurus evolved in an environment where it regularly shared space with other massive predators. Repeated encounters with rivals of comparable size and threat, like Carcharodontosaurus, sharpened its instincts and honed its aggression. Every encounter taught it how to strike with precision, seize control, and dominate without wasting effort. Over time, it became not just a hunter, but a presence that inspired fear. A predator whose skill and aggression made hesitation deadly. Tyrannosaurus rex came from a very different setting. In its ecosystem, there is little evidence of another predator that consistently matched it in size. When T-Rex fought, it was usually against members of its own species, animals with the same height, posture, and weapons. A confrontation with Spinosaurus would present an unfamiliar problem. A longer body, a lower stance, long forelimbs with large claws, and a tall sail changed the visual outline. Nothing about that encounter would fit the patterns T-Rex evolved to handle easily. In a realistic confrontation, the opening seconds matter more than anything that comes after. Before any real damage is done, both animals are reading distance, posture, and intent. Who can touch the other first without stepping into danger? Who controls the space between them? This is where Spinosaurus begins to tilt the encounter in its favor. Spinosaurus had more reach, not just with its head, but with its entire body. Its long forelimbs ended in large, curved claws that could be used independently of its jaws. That means it could strike, hook, or slash without committing its head or neck. Against another apex predator, that is a major advantage. It allows pressure to be applied while keeping vital areas back and protected. Tyrannosaurus rex did not have that option. Its arms were short and played little role in combat. Its power was concentrated almost entirely in its skull. To use that weapon, it had to close the distance fully. That meant stepping into range, exposing the head, and accepting the risk of counterattack. Against prey, that risk made sense. Against a rival predator with claws and reach, it becomes a far more dangerous decision. Height and intimidation are not just visual, they are tactical. Even without speculating on behavior, Spinosaurus would have projected a far more imposing silhouette from certain angles. Its elongated body stretched across space, while the sail rising from its back added vertical dominance. In the animal world, perception matters. A rival that looks larger, taller, and harder to reach creates hesitation before a single strike is made. Tyrannosaurus rex relied on head-on intimidation. pushing forward with sheer mass and force. Spinosaurus disrupts that approach entirely, forcing any opponent to rethink the distance at which it can safely engage. With this in mind, it is obvious that both animals are capable of killing one another. But who is more likely to have that opportunity? There are many factors to take into consideration. The key factor is the environment. There are a lot of things that may tip the scales in favor of the other creatures in the wild, so it really could go either way if the two species are out in the wild. To begin with, one of the animals might be sick or elderly. One might be fighting against a family. One might be fighting to kill, and the other might just be defending its area. It also depends on the location of their fight. Tyrannosaurus will have the upper hand if it's in the forest. It will be more agile as well as more used to the surroundings. It's also faster on the land, and it's not hindered by that big sail. However, Spino clearly has the upper hand down by the river. It can now move more quickly in the water, strike like lightning, and jump out to grab a Tyrannosaurus and drag it into the water. Trying to say who would win in a fight between Tyrannosaurus and Spinosaurus in the wild is like saying who would win in a fight between a crocodile and a lion. Sometimes the lion will kill the crocodile for a variety of reasons, and other times the crocodile will dominate. Because speed and bite force are incompatible in a croc versus lion combat, it is impossible to predict with certainty who would prevail. If Tyrannosaurus and Spinosaurus were forced to coexist on the same island after being resurrected from extinction through cloning or time travel, they would probably never cause each other any trouble. Large carnivores, such as lions and crocodiles, typically avoid one another. A fight with another large predator could end very badly even for the winner. Even if a lion kills a crocodile, the crocodile may still injure its leg during the battle, making it impossible for the lion to hunt, repel other lions, or protect its territory. Most large predators will target herbivores that pose less of a threat to them unless they are desperate, and Tyrannosaurus and Spinosaurus would probably be the same. Given that both Tyrannosaurus and Spinosaurus are capable of killing one another and the numerous external conditions that would need to be taken into account, it would be a 50-50 chance in a battle. The story of Spinosaurus begins in fragments. Unlike the spectacular, nearly complete skeletons that launched other dinosaurs into public fame, Spinosaurus emerged from pieces scattered across a harsh and remote landscape. Its history is one defined as much by what was missing as by what was found. Each fossil carried a hint of something extraordinary, yet the full picture remained elusive. In the early 20th century, German paleontologist Ernst Stromer embarked on expeditions into the deserts of what is now Egypt, navigating treacherous terrain and political instability to reach fossil-rich Cretaceous rock layers. The work was grueling. Heavy equipment was scarce, transportation was unreliable, and fragile fossils often sustained damage before they even left the field. Despite these obstacles, Stromer's persistence yielded remarkable discoveries. Among the bones he recovered were vertebrae with elongated blade-like projections rising far above the spine, a form unlike that seen in any other known predator. Skull fragments and jaw pieces further signaled something unique, a predator whose anatomy defied established norms. The skull was not deep and compact like other large theropods. It was long and narrow, hinting at a hunting strategy unfamiliar to science at the time. Recognizing the significance of his find, Stromer formally described the species in 1915, naming it Spinosaurus aegyptiacus. Yet he did so with caution. The skeleton was incomplete, and the surrounding scientific framework offered few clues about how such an animal might have lived. Stromer's meticulous drawings, measurements, and notes became the primary record of Spinosaurus, the foundation upon which all future studies would depend. His restraint was prescient. The fossils were housed in Munich, but fate intervened. In 1944, during Allied bombing raids in World War II, the museum containing Stromer's collection was destroyed. The holotype, the original specimen that defined the species, was lost entirely. There were no casts, no duplicates, only Stromer's illustrations, photographs, and descriptions. For decades, the absence of the original bones limited scientific understanding. Paleontologists had to work from second-hand records, reconstructing an animal they could never touch. The result was a Spinosaurus shaped by assumption rather than evidence. Long legs, upright posture, and proportions borrowed from other large predators like Tyrannosaurus rex or Allosaurus. For nearly half a century, Spinosaurus was treated as a conventional terrestrial hunter, distinguished mainly by its sail. Fragmentary fossils continued to surface across North Africa, isolated teeth, vertebrae, and limb bones. But these finds were sporadic and often poorly preserved. Without a complete skeleton, their significance remained uncertain, and debates arose over whether these bones even belonged to Spinosaurus or to a closely related species. For much of the 20th century, the dinosaur lingered at the margins of research. It was known, but rarely central to discussions of predator evolution, a curiosity rather than a model for study. The late 20th century marked a turning point. Fossil exploration intensified in Morocco, particularly in the Kem region, producing a steady flow of material that could be attributed to Spinosaurus. These discoveries were incremental: vertebrae, limb bones, skull fragments, but over time they began to form a consistent anatomical pattern. What had once been dismissed as anomalies now appeared as defining traits. Paleontologists began to question the reconstructions shaped by decades of assumptions. The absence of the original fossils, which had allowed an inaccurate image to dominate, was now a reminder of the danger of speculation. The first attempts at full-body reconstructions using these new fossils were striking. Spinosaurus did not fit the profile of a purely terrestrial predator. Its center of mass suggested a body not built for sustained running. Its limbs appeared less suited to high-speed pursuit. Even the sail, once regarded as an ornamental display, contributed to a silhouette unlike that of any other giant theropod. These discoveries ignited debates that extended beyond anatomy to behavior and ecology. For the first time in decades, paleontologists confronted a possibility that challenged long-held assumptions. Spinosaurus might have been adapted to a lifestyle that no other large predator had occupied. Yet certainty remained elusive. Some researchers cautioned that the fossils might represent individuals at different growth stages or unique variations, while others argued that missing elements made definitive conclusions impossible. Disagreement was widespread, and for good reason. This was not a debate over minor details. It questioned the very way Spinosaurus lived. Was it primarily a terrestrial hunter, or had it mastered the interface of land and water? The stakes were significant. If Spinosaurus truly occupied a distinct ecological niche, it suggested that large predatory dinosaurs were more versatile than previously thought, capable of exploiting environments once considered unsuitable for their size. As research progressed, a clearer picture began to emerge. Spinosaurus had thrived in the waterways, wetlands, and floodplains of mid-Cretaceous North Africa. Its elongated jaws, conical teeth, and paddle-like tail indicated a diet heavily focused on fish and aquatic prey. Its body was optimized for life along rivers, not just the plains. Yet this specialization, which had ensured dominance for millions of years, also made the species vulnerable. The environment that nurtured Spinosaurus was not permanent. Over time, rivers shifted courses, wetlands fragmented, and seasonal changes reduced reliable water sources. Prey populations fluctuated with these changes, and habitats that had once supported abundant fish now offered uncertainty. Generalist predators could adapt to shifting conditions, altering diets, or moving to new territories. Spinosaurus, however, was highly specialized. Its enormous size demanded abundant resources. Its hunting relied on aquatic access, and its anatomy was tuned to a narrow ecological niche. When the rivers dried or fragmented, the dinosaur could not simply revert to a fully terrestrial lifestyle. Its adaptations, once assets, became constraints. Over generations, populations shrank, ranges contracted, and survival became increasingly precarious. Extinction was not sudden, but a drawn-out process, shaped by environmental instability and the gradual disappearance of suitable habitats. This story complicates how we understand predatory dinosaurs. For decades, paleontology treated large theropods as variations on a single theme. Powerful, land-based hunters with broadly similar strategies. Spinosaurus shattered that assumption. Its evolutionary path demonstrates that dominance can take many forms. It integrated land and water, exploited transitional zones, and leveraged resources unavailable to other predators. Its presence reshaped ecosystems, influencing the behavior of prey and competitors alike. Even today, Spinosaurus resists definitive classification. Different research teams produce varying reconstructions of posture, proportions, and behavior. The debates reflect the animal's uniqueness rather than a failure of science. This dinosaur was never meant to fit neatly into pre-existing categories. Its extinction mirrored the fragility of specialization, demonstrating how evolutionary success can be both extraordinary and fleeting. Ultimately, Spinosaurus offers lessons that extend beyond its fossil record. It challenges assumptions about predator dominance, adaptation, and the limits of specialization. It reminds us that in nature, power is not absolute. It is contingent on environment, opportunity, and timing. The dinosaur's story is a testament to ingenuity and ecological mastery, a chronicle of a predator that ruled in ways few animals have, and whose legacy continues to shape our understanding of prehistoric life. Spinosaurus thrived in its world, not because it conformed to expectations, but because it exploited a niche no other predator could. When that world changed, the very adaptations that had defined it became liabilities. Its rise and fall illustrate evolution in action, a balance between mastery and vulnerability, between innovation and dependence. Through discovery, loss, and ongoing debate, Spinosaurus endures as a symbol of nature's complexity, a reminder that the most remarkable creatures are often the hardest to categorize, and that survival, no matter how assured it seems, is never guaranteed.